Hi, this is Father Jeff from St Luke's. You remember me? And it's so good to see you today over the internet. And I'm missing you, and so is the parish missing you during this time when we can't meet together. So I thought we'd try and do a little Sunday school lesson like this today. So I hope that you've got mum and dad around and might be able to help you at times if you need that. If you don't need that, just follow along. I've sent you out an email, and with that email there's a copy of the reading, and there's the words of a song, and there's also an activity sheet and a YouTube clip of some kids singing the song. So you might want to have a look at all of those things, and we'll be talking about those things today during our time together. Now, the subject matter of our lesson today is a chapter of John's Gospel. You know how there are the four Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, that's right. And there's a famous chapter of John's Gospel which you might have heard about before, chapter 9. And in this chapter, an amazing thing happens. Jesus heals a man born blind. So if you've got a printout of that email that I've sent you, I'm going to read over the words of that reading. You might want to read along with me, or you might want to stop the video for a moment and read it yourself, or get somebody else in your home to read it to you if you prefer that. I'm not really, I don't really mind how you manage it, but for those of you that haven't got a printer or who need a bit of help sometimes reading, I'm going to read the reading over now. So we might just put our listening ears on, as I say, and listen up to this, the first part of this story where Jesus heals a man born blind. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man who had been born blind. His followers asked him, "Teacher, whose sin caused this man to be born blind? His own sin or his parents' sin?" Jesus answered, "It is not this man's sin or his parents' sin that made him blind. This man was born blind so that God's power could be shown in him. While it is daytime, we must continue doing the work of the one who sent me. The night is coming, and no one can work at night. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world." After Jesus said this, he spit on the ground and made some mud with it. He put the mud on the man's eyes. Then he told the man, "Go and wash in the pool of Siloam." Siloam means sent. So the man went to the pool, he washed and came back, and he was able to see. Some people had seen this man begging before. They and the man's neighbours said, "Look, is this the same man who always sits and begs?" Some said, "Yes, he is the one." But others said, "No, he's not the same man. He only looks like him." So the man himself said, "I am the man." They asked, "What happened? How did you get your sight?" And he answered, "The man named Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. Then he told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed and came back seeing." They asked him, "Where is the man now?" The man answered, "I do not know." What do you think of that story? It is a big deal, and it is really quite amazing, because this man was born blind. He didn't have the nerves in the back of his eyes to connect his eyes to his brain. So he couldn't see anything. He'd never seen anything. You know, he'd never seen the moon or the stars or the sky. He'd never seen a flower. He'd never seen the faces of his mother or father or friends. Never seen anything. So he didn't know what anything looked like, really. You know, some people in the course of their life get sick and they go blind because of that. And so it's not a great thing or anything by any means, but at least they have a memory of what things look like. But this man didn't have that at all. So it's a big deal for Jesus to have healed this man. It's not just an ordinary healing, if you could say that. It's an extraordinary thing that happened, an amazing thing. And that's why no one could work out how on earth it could have happened. Now, I want to do an activity now, if we can do that. Now, if you've got a backyard, I want you to go out into your backyard. If you've got a large room in your house where we could do this, then go there. Have mum or dad stand with you and either put a blindfold on or cover your eyes like that. And I want you to spin around a few times and see how you feel. Try and go for a little walk when you've done that. See how you feel. See what it's like not to be able to see, just for a minute, and then come back. So I'm going to pause the video now and I'll talk to you when you've done that little activity. How was that? Did you feel a bit dizzy from spinning around? Probably. Did you feel a bit lost? Did you feel that if you walked too far you might bump into something? I know if I did that, I'd bump into something for sure, probably fall over and break something. So you wouldn't want to do that. It's not easy being blind. Have you seen people in the streets being led around by a guide dog? Or have you seen a person walking along with one of those white canes with a little bulb on the end and tapping along to help them know where the curb or a step is, something like that? It's not easy. It makes a big thing not being able to see. It's tough. And if you can ever help a blind person when they need a bit of guidance, try and help them. I try and do that. Now, in the Bible, Jesus uses words like seeing and light in a few different ways. Did you notice that in the reading he calls himself the light of the world? Jesus calls himself the light of the world. We find in the Bible stories that sometimes seeing doesn't just mean seeing with our eyes, although here in the story Jesus heals the man and brings light back into him, into his body. He can see around himself now. Before he was healed, this man couldn't work, couldn't get a job. He couldn't do many things at all. He couldn't look after himself properly. All he could do to live on was to beg, to ask people as they walked past to give him some money. Otherwise, he couldn't buy any food. There wasn't really a place for him in the world at that time. He couldn't, as people do today, couldn't go to Centrelink. There was no big hospitals or anything like that to go and find people to help him. If he hurt himself, for example, he just had to look after himself. And that was hard for a blind man, very, very hard. Jesus sees him, and the man doesn't even approach him, but Jesus heals him, and he tells his disciples that it's to show God's power at work. It was amazing that he healed him. But as I say, sometimes this word or this idea of being able to see is not only about being able to see with our eyes. It's about being able to understand. Have you ever been working on something at school or at home, and someone, your parents or your teacher, have explained something to you, and you say, "Now I see, I understand that, I see." I remember being in my maths classes at high school, and like most people, I found maths a bit hard, and my high school maths teacher, Mr. Winnie, his name was, he would come and explain something to me, and I'd be so grateful. And I'd say, now I see, now I understand that trigonometry or that calculus or whatever it was. If you haven't done those subjects yet, you will one day. But that was what he helped me with, and I could understand it a bit anyway. I didn't do too bad at maths finally because of that man's help, but he helped me to see, to understand. I could see the numbers on the page, but I couldn't understand how they got there at first. The thing is, with Jesus as the light of the world, he helps us to understand things, as well as giving us a beautiful world which we see with our eyes, which is so lovely at times. Jesus helps us to understand ourselves better. He helps us to understand about God. He helps us to understand about so many things in our life. That's just so important. That's why being a follower of Jesus is so good for us in so many ways, that we can understand so much more than someone that doesn't know Jesus in their life. So very important that Jesus is the light of the world. He gives us a beautiful vision of the world, and he also helps us to understand so many things. And I still need to look to Jesus, the light of the world, to understand a lot of things about life. I hope to understand more and more about God and about life even as I get older still. So that's very important. Today, I've attached to the email, I've sent an activity sheet, and there it is. And this is an activity sheet about our story today. So have a good look at it. And I'd love you to complete it and put it up on the wall at home. And maybe when these difficult days are finished and we're able to see each other again, you might bring them all in. And you know how we bring things up to the altar? You could bring those up to the altar when we're finished. And that would be absolutely terrific. It'd certainly make my spirits lift if you were able to do that. We've also got attached to the email the words of a song. Now, not only the words of a song, but I've got a YouTube video which you might also listen to and learn the song from that. But my voice is a bit scratchy today, so I mightn't be able to sing this as well as I have done in the past, but I'll try and sing it. And if you might learn to sing it from listening to me, and we'll sing it through a couple of times, and so you'll learn to do that and learn that song, and we can sing it together one day, maybe when you come back to church. Now, this song is called He's Able, and one of the lines in it refers to what we've been talking about today. One of the lines is that he calls the blind to see, which is what we've been talking about today. So I'm going to sing it the best I can, and if my voice wobbles a little bit, I'm sorry about that, but if you sing with me, then we'll get through it together. Okay, let's have a go. He's able, I know my Lord is able, I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He's able, I know he's able, I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He healed the broken-hearted and set the captives free. He made the lame to walk again and caused the blind to see. He's able, I know he's able, I know my Lord is able to carry me through. There, that was simple, wasn't it? I'm sure you could sing that quite easily. So let's have another go. It just reminds us that God is able to help us in times when we mightn't have thought that he could. So let's sing that through again. He's able, I know he's able, I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He's able, I know he's able, I know my Lord is able to carry me through. He healed the broken-hearted and set the captives free. He made the lame to walk again and made the blind to see. He's able, I know he's able. I know my Lord is able to carry me through. There, that was fun, I thought. Anyway, well, I'm really glad that we could get together like this today and spend this time thinking about a great story from John's Gospel, and with such a good lesson about Jesus being the light of the world. And I think in the future, when someone says to you, when you've explained something to them and they say, oh, I see, or maybe you say to somebody, oh, I see what you mean, then you'll think of that blind man that Jesus healed. And that will be a good lesson to have learnt today. So before we finish, we might say the Lord's Prayer together. I'm sure that you know the Lord's Prayer from church or from Sunday school over the years. So let's just bow our heads and say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Thanks, boys and girls. It's been a real pleasure. See you later. Bye.